The next chapter, chapter 4, is about dimension reduction. Dimension reduction refers to uh, reducing the number of predictors. Okay, if you have too many predictors, your model is going to be bigger and it's going to take more resources. And not only that, if unnecessary predictors that do not have very much predictive power, may mess up your prediction and how well your model does in terms of prediction. So it is very important not only to keep the size of the model down, but also to improve on the reliability and the accuracy of the models that we develop, for us to look for what predictors are useful and then remove all the other predictors. And that is the objective of this chapter. And we're going to, in this series of videos, we're going to look at how some of the R code is developed in the textbook, and I will make some slight modifications here and there as usual to make it a little clearer or a little easier to work. So first thing to do is, of course, to set the default path for the folder containing the data files. So I've already copied that and paste that, and then I'm going to run a couple of libraries. Okay, first one is tidyverse. Tidyverse will give me packages that are very useful, like ggplot and some data modification libraries. And then your textbook uses skimr, and skimr gives you some basic statistics that we've already seen, but it gives you in a little different way, and maybe some people will find that useful. So let's look at that as well. Okay, let's go ahead and run these 3 lines of code. Okay, then we'll bring in the data, and we're going to use bostonhousing.csv. So we'll call it Boston housing.df, and read CSV Boston housing.csv. Okay, and then we will take a look at the top few rows of the data set, and also we'll look at the structure of the data set. So that would be like each column, what kind of information is contained in those columns. So it's a quick check as to whether the data has been read properly and what they are. Okay, so the data is in. So here are the first 6 rows, and as you can see, all the columns have numeric values. So if you look at the structure here, you see all of them are either numbers or integer. Okay, numbers will include non-integers as well, and integer will be just integer. Okay. Here we need to note that there are a couple of columns that are actually binary columns, chas and cat.medv. Okay, they are not actually numeric variables, they are more like factors. We've done factors previously, but in this chapter we don't need to change those 2 columns to factors. So if we need it, and we will change it at that time. So let's first look at the summary function that we have used previously. Okay, so when you run that, so you get the summary statistics, you get the minimum, first quartile, median, mean, third quartile, and the maximum. Okay, so for all the numeric variables, and if it's a non-numeric variable, it will give you each level of the category and the frequency for each level. Okay, so that's what you get from the summary code that's available from the base R. Now we can use skim from Ch04 library, and you see that it gives about the same information but in a slightly different format, and a couple of additional pieces of statistics also is provided. Okay, so here like in the previous case, okay, so you get the minimum P0 0th percentile, that's the minimum, 25th percentile, that's quartile one, first quartile, P50 is the median, third quartile, and P100 100th quartile, that's your maximum value. That's what you see here, right? Minimum through, so, and then the mean is here, and if there were any missing values, the summary will give you the missing value. So here you have the missing value right here, and you don't see missing values in summary because there were no missing values. If there were missing values, then summary also will provide you that. And one additional two things that are different here, besides it being more a kind of a, it's displayed in a better way than here. Okay, so you get variable names here, and then the statistics in a more concise and table form is easier to read. And then you have the standard deviation is provided as well, and then you have a brief histogram of each of the variables also provided. So these two things make it a little more useful command. I mean, the skim command gives you more useful information than summary.